In medieval Italy, two proud city-states go to war over a bucket. Soldiers, cavalry charges, and real bloodshed, sparked, at least in legend, by a stolen wooden bucket. Now the story you've probably heard isn't entirely accurate. The war didn't start because of a bucket, but a bucket was taken in the process and became the lasting symbol of one city's pride and another's defeat. This is the true story behind the War of the Bucket, and how a smaller army achieved a stunning victory that still echoes today. Italy in the early 14th century was not a single unified country. It was a patchwork of fiercely independent city-states. Each was a hub of wealth, trade, and politics, and rivalries. Two major political camps dominated those rivalries: the Guelphs, generally supporting the Pope, and the Ghibellines, backing the Holy Roman Emperor. This was an abstract ideology. It shaped alliances, trade, and who you married, and most importantly, who you went to war with. Bologna was a powerful Guelph city, aligned with papal interests. Modena was a committed Ghibelline stronghold, loyal to imperial authority. For years, these two had been snapping at each other's borders, raiding each other's countryside, and trying to control key castles. By 1325, tensions were already boiling over. So what actually lit the fuse? It wasn't just a missing bucket. The underlying causes were pretty typical medieval grievances: border disputes, control of strategic fortresses, and power projection from one city to another. In the summer of 1325, things got worse. Bologna's forces had been raiding Modenese lands, burning crops, plundering farms, and generally making life miserable for their neighbors. Modena was responded by capturing the fortress at Monteveglio, a strategic strongpoint that gave them an upper hand in the region. That betrayal of Monteveglio rattled the Bolognese, and that is when the legend steps in with the bucket. According to multiple accounts, a small group of Modenese soldiers once slipped into Bologna and made off with a large wooden bucket from a public well. The bucket itself wasn't valuable, but in medieval society, symbols were everything. To the people of Bologna, having a rival city steal even a humble bucket was a blow to their honor. It was a kind of insult no proud city leader could ever ignore. Bologna demanded its return. Modena refused. From that moment on, what might have stayed a border squabble escalated into an open war. By November of 1325, both sides were ready to settle this in the only way medieval powers knew how: with an army. Bologna marched with a huge force. Some estimates put it around 30 to 32,000 foot soldiers and roughly 2,000 cavalry. But most of these were local militia, volunteers, and hastily drafted levies, not professional troops. Modena, on the other hand, could field only about 5,000 infantry and 2 to 2,800 cavalry, but many of them were seasoned fighters, including veteran knights and trained mercenaries, especially the German cavalry. The leaders on both sides were experienced, but this wasn't shaping up just to be another melee. Modena's commanders were about to put their troops into a tactical test. The decisive clash occurred on November 15, 1325, near the small village Zappolino, just outside of Bologna's territorial reach. This wasn't open plains. The ground was rolling and uneven, with hills and narrow approaches, terrain that could easily swallow a large, unwieldy force. Modena deliberately chose this ground. Their troops took up positions where their cavalry could hit flanks, and their infantry could hold the center. Bologna's massive army, confident in its numbers, advanced quickly uphill, something that would quickly work against them. As Bologna's infantry surged up the slope, its formations began to lose cohesion. What worked on flat ground, tight ranks, coordinated maneuvers, fell apart on the uneven hillside. Modena's commander, Passarino dei Bonaccorsi, capitalized on this early confusion. He used a classic feint, pretending to move at one point to draw part of the Bolognese forces aside, then striking elsewhere with his main strength. Once Modenese cavalry charged into the exposed flanks, and their professional infantry pressed the center, the Bolognese lines began to crack. Soldiers lost contact with their commanders. Battalions staggered and broke. Rumors of betrayal and fear rippled through the ranks. Soon, what had been a confident advance turned into chaos. Within a couple hours, the battle was effectively over. The poorly coordinated Bolognese troops threw down their arms and fled, many all the way back to the safety of Bologna city walls. Modenese forces pursued them for miles, capturing small castles along the way, before finally pulling back. Casualty estimates vary, but it's very clear that Bologna suffered significant losses, thousands killed, wounded, or taken prisoner, while Modena's casualties were much lighter. The victory near Zappolino was decisive. Modena's troops even advanced close to Bologna's walls. They stopped short of laying siege. Instead, they staged mock tournaments under the city's ramparts, celebrating their triumph and taunting their defeated foes. And yes, the wooden bucket still played a role. Whether stolen before or after the battle, the bucket became a symbol of Modena's victory and Bologna's humiliation, and it was brought back to Modena as a war trophy. Centuries later, that same bucket still hangs in Modena's town hall, preserved not for its material value, but for what it came to represent. The War of the Bucket captures something essential about medieval Italy. Power was local, and pride was everything. And even something as humble as a bucket could spark one of the largest battles of an era, not because of its worth, but because of pride, honor, and duty. In the end, history remembers the story, and sometimes the story sticks because of a single, unforgettable detail. If you enjoyed the video, please like and consider subscribing. These stories are kept alive when they are shared. Thank you very much.